pod bay doors, please, Hal.
Wakey, wakey!
When you're a vampire, you become very sexy.
Don't sing if you want to live long.
I became a vampire when I was 16, and that is why I always look 16.
You're dead and out of this world.
You might bite someone and you see, ooh, those are some nice pants.
You'll never get a second chance. Plan all your moves in advance. Stay dead, stay dead, stay dead.
Hello, ladies.
Stay dead and out of this
I think we drink virgin blood because it sounds cool.
Run fast, don't stand in the sun.
I go for a look which I call dead but delicious.
You're down, you're down, you're down.
A
You're
ghost?
down and out of this world.
This is my friend Stu. He works in computers and stuff.
Nice.
I'm knitting a scarf for Stu.
I am controlling this. Get it! Don't swear. We're werewolves. What are we?
Werewolves, not werewolves.
Don't ever talk with your eyes. Be sure that you come.
I'm the main guy, Twilight. You know the main guy? Twilight? That's me.
Shame. Bad vampire.
We'll do my dishes!
Guard your sleep from the sound of their
This is
pain.
bullshit.
Long gone, long gone, long gone. You're dead and out of this world.
Just leave me to do my dark bidding on the internet.
What are you bidding?
I'm bidding on the table.
What the fuck?
The pod bay doors are open. Thank you very much for joining us once again. I'm your host, Doug Heller, film critic and film historian for TalkMovieToMe.com. Here, as always, lurking by the computer, doing his dark bidding on the internet. Jerry Dean Roberts, film critic for ArmchairCinema.com, ArmchairOscars.com, and OverThinkingOscars.wordpress.com. Jerry, what's going on today?
We are vampires. We don't put down towels.
Some do. We're talking about the film Taika Waititi and Jemaine Clement's What We Do in the Shadows from 2014. I adore this movie.
This was good. This was my first time through. I had not seen this yet.
Then I am so happy I got to introduce this to you because
Well,
this is hilarious.
let me tell you why. Because I didn't know what this was,
Oh, okay.
and I think in 2014, and I think now probably, I need another vampire movie like I need a hole in the head.
Well, that's true. That's the truth.
I heard it was a vampire movie, and I was just like, okay, I'm done. I'm done with vampires. I'm done with zombies, and currently I'm saying I'm done with possession movies. Okay, which is why both my choices for Shocktober this year come from 1985 and 1978, because modern vampire. Horror is in a weird state right now. And,
yeah, it's either too tame or too much.
Or it's all this CG possession. Everybody's trying to be the Exorcist, and it's
Right,
just
although they don't
frustrating.
know that they're trying to be the Exorcist, they think they're trying to be the Conjuring.
Right. So every time somebody comes up with a new horror movie, I'm like, no, thank you.
But this
This
is a mockumentary. About vampires who live in a house together in Wellington, New Zealand.
It's basically the real world,
Yeah,
essentially.
but with
or Jersey Shore or whatever.
right. It's like the real world. They're in their house, and it's all the dynamics between them.
And personality clashes.
Right. There's Vizago, who is played by Taika Waititi. There is...
Who is very he's the orderly guy. If you live in a house or an apartment with some people, he's the one that's always going to be reminding people about the cleaning chores and about paying their part of the rent.
Right, right. And the reason for that was, I think Jemaine Clement's vampire Vladislav says, Vizago was a 17th century dandy, so he's very fastidious. And
And it should be said also, Taika Waititi based his performance on his mother. Which is why his performance is so kind of fussy.
His Jewish mother.
Yes. That's why I love at the end. It's like, he's like, Deacon, you left the window open. You could sizzle. Don't leave the window open.
It's
almost
daylight.
morning.
You could have sizzled. We don't want that. No, come on.
And then there's Vlad.
Oh.
Vlad is like, I guess Vlad is the elder. No, Peter's the elder.
Well, yeah, Peter's the elder, but of the ones that actually have
Yeah, because
lines.
Peter's 8,000 years old.
Yeah. But Vlad is from like the Middle Ages.
Yeah.
So he's
And,
the oldest one that isn't a decrepit, terrifying looking.
And he's based his performance, Clement's based his performance on Gary Oldman.
Which you can definitely tell. I love
Right.
when he's like, yes, I was beaten when I was 16 years old, so that's why I always look like I'm a 16-year-old boy.
He does not
Life
look like
was
16.
hard. Life was hard for a 16-year-old back then.
He does not look like a 16-year-old.
A 16-year-old from 600 years ago, maybe.
Yeah.
When the life expectancy was like 30.
He's the sexed up, the sexy vampire.
Right.
You know, kind of the Gary Oldman, Bram Stoker's Dracula kind of thing. And then there's Deacon. Deacon is the slob.
Yes.
He's the one who
He's the youngest of them.
is the youngest of them, and is kind of based on like the modern, like Lost Boys or Twilight. He was a Nazi vampire.
He was. He was turned in the middle 19th century, but yes, during World War II, he was a Nazi vampire, and he was.
They don't go back to that, by the way.
No, that's one scene, and that's it. And I guess
They don't go back to that.
He was trying to build a vampire army for the Nazis. And he says, after the war, the Nazis, they lost that war. I don't know if you knew that. Being a Nazi, ugh. Being a vampire, oh, being a Nazi vampire, forget it. There's so much of this that's just batshit crazy, and the funniest thing is that the people that are doing this, they know they're in a documentary, right? They're being followed by humans who heard about the Unholy Masquerade, which is what happens way at the end. So 6 or 8 months before, they somehow got embedded with Vizago and Vlad and Deacon and Peter. They all wore crosses. There was a pact that they would not eat any of them, and they don't.
Right.
One camera person does get lost in the werewolf struggle later on, but other than that, they are pretty safe.
The one thing I was a little disappointed by was that we didn't get more of Peter, because Peter's based on Nosferatu.
Mm-hmm.
The Max Schreck,
Mm-hmm.
Nosferatu. And
Is Peter coming to the meeting? Peter is 8,000 years old. He does not have to come to the house meeting.
I like the fact that he doesn't speak
Yeah.
because Nosferatu is a silent film, and so
Right.
naturally he wouldn't speak.
But
You know?
I love that he's not mindless.
He's not really part of anything.
But he's not mindless. Like when
Right.
when Nick's down there saying, "Okay, so my friend Stu's here. We the boys everybody liked him. They don't please don't eat him. I like him. He's a good friend, and all the guys up there, they're mates. So just how you turned me into a vampire. Don't do that to Stu." And Peter's just there, nodding his head, like, "Oh yeah, I understand. Okay, no problem." And that's
He's-
where
He sleeps in a concrete vault. He doesn't sleep in a coffin. I love that because he has to move the lid to wake him up.
and he throws a chicken in, and and I love they have this dinner party. Deacon's familiar, Jackie.
Jackie.
Gets two people to come over. Deacon was like, it's virgins, yes. He's like, I don't know why we eat virgins. I think it just sounds cool. It doesn't matter to them. And then, what was it, Vlad? He's like, yeah, we don't need to eat virgins, but, it's like if somebody gives you a sandwich, you would just like to know that nobody fucked it before you ate it.
I was just struck by the idea that you have a feeling that when they wrote this, there were about 8,000 jokes that they threw. They threw every joke that they could into this.
Oh yeah,
and you get the feeling that whenever they did that, they just started pulling out, and they said, "Okay, we're going to pull out the cream of the crop."
Mm-hmm.
It's not like they had 20 jokes and they just did those 20 jokes. No, they had a lot of material.
This is a well thought out concept.
Yes.
So well thought out that it works perfectly as a television show on FX.
Which I haven't seen yet.
Oh God, you need to watch that.
If I can get through all 3 seasons of it, we may have to do a show on this because I want to know. I want more.
I also urge you to watch Wellington Paranormal. There's 2 or 3 seasons of that on HBO Max, and it features the 2 police officers that show up at the house, O'Leary and Minogue,
who look like they come out of Cops.
Yeah, but
TV show Cops,
but not a competent version of Cops.
Right. Well, he's hypnotizing them. Don't forget that.
Well, yeah, but he's not very good at it. And to be perfectly honest, watching Wellington Paranormal, he might not have had to go through all that trouble.
Well, I mean, there are smoking charred bones on the basement floor. And they don't really think much about it.
And a dead body. And they're like, "Oh, what are you having, a barbecue in here? You can't have a barbecue down in here. Look at this guy. He's not having any fun, is he? We've got a stone on him. He's cold. He's not going to feel good in the morning."
Yeah, I was amazed. I was amazed by this as much as I was Shaun of the Dead, and just how, like you say, well thought out it is.
Yeah.
And the idea that it's not just spot gags. It's not just a random series of stuff.
It's not a one-note premise, because what they do, instead of coming up with a discernible plot line and kind of force it into a mockumentary kind of a structure, they just let it go as if it's naturally unfolding.
Right.
And while the editing and structure is kind of a mess,
mm-hmm.
I love that it just lets you flow along with them. It lets you get to know them. And
the editing structure is a mess for a purpose.
Oh yeah. I'm not condemning it.
There's a reason that's happening. It's because it's a reality show. And random things have to happen in a reality show. I love just the little things. I love it when Viago brings home a woman that he's gonna make his bride, and he bites her on the neck, but he hits the jugular.
Oh, he wasn't gonna make her his bride. He was just gonna eat
Drink
her.
blood.
But yeah, he hits the artery and it sprays everywhere. He's like, oh, that was not good. That we hit the main artery. Now it's everywhere.
But he puts down newspaper.
He does. It's like, who got blood all over my antique couch? And Vlad's like, is that the red one? He goes, well, it's red now.
And he's so delicate. So delicate when he's trying to bite her neck. Or at the end of the movie when he's trying to bite someone else, but he's so delicate about it. And it's like, he's so...
Like, this is gonna hurt no matter what. You
yeah.
can't just pussyfoot around on that one. And
No.
I love this the way that they still somehow managed a 3-act structure. Like in the beginning, we're kind of introduced
I was gonna
to everybody.
I will say, if there is one flaw in the film, I think it is the third act does kind of run out of gas a little bit. It does. It's not as...
That's only because they were trying to figure out how to end this movie. Because this movie could have been 30 hours long, and I would have watched every minute of it.
It does kind of, after the Masquerade, it's kind of there's kind of a dip, and then it comes back up when you get when they start wrapping it up.
Right. There's not much after the Masquerade anyway.
I want to talk about... I want to know what's going on. This side story with these werewolves is so funny because they're out on the town and they pass these werewolves and they start making dog jokes.
There has been a rumor that the werewolves are also getting their own spin-off, but I don't know how true that is. I think there was a sequel film planned, but I don't know what's happening with that now that it's on television too. I don't know what they're doing with that, but I would kill to see a werewolf, What We Do in the Shadows style.
Well, they pass these werewolves. They're just out walking because they can't get into a club. Because
they have to be. Because they have to be invited.
They have to be invited. Yeah,
and they can't get in.
Will you invite us in? Would you invite us in?
No, get out of here.
But and they go into their own club, and they're the only ones there.
Yeah. It's like, this is the hot spot for vampire activity in all of Wellington.
But they're walking. They're just out for a stroll, and they just walk by these guys, and they start throwing dog jokes at them.
Well, no, what is it? Deacon says, "Do you smell that? It's werewolves. Come here." And they see them and they start making jokes about it, and they pass by them and they're like, "We don't want anything. We don't want to get into anything." And it's like, well, then don't start anything. And the leader of the werewolves is Rhys Darby.
Yeah.
Who is in virtually everything hilarious from England. He was in Flight of the Conchords. He's actually shown up as this character again in Wellington Paranormal. You see him a lot and don't know him. But yeah, they're
just goading them and trying to get them to turn into werewolves, and it's just, and I love it. Hey, we're werewolves, not swearwolves.
He got me riled up. We're werewolves, not swearwolves. Yes.
And they made him again later.
Yeah.
and it's a full moon.
Mm-hmm.
And say, hey,
They're
count
tricked.
to 10, human again. Count to 10, human again.
And they're going through their transformation. They're chaining themselves to trees.
Mm.
And I love this because, like, he's trying to lead these people that really have no direction whatsoever. And they're like, well,
wear those pants tonight.
Where are your track
Those
pants?
gonna-
Where are your track pants? What? What? They were in the wash. They had to be washed. Well, you're gonna bust right out of those jeans, and where's your? You're not gonna have any pants on. You gotta stretch into the jog, to the trackies. Like, and then the one guy was like chaining himself to a sapling, and he goes, "Look, that's not a tree for you. Look at that. It's the wrong tree. Come on." The way that everything...
It's just this weird side story that's just happening, you know. It's this weird side story that's just happening on the other side of you know, whatever.
Which then crosses paths with them again, because Nick's friend, Stu. Nick is one of the ones that gets brought in by Jackie. And
who looks like a soccer hooligan.
Yeah, he does. And so this is one of my favorite bits in the movie, is when Deacon consistently says, "Would you like some bisgetti?"
Yes.
You want some
bisgetti?
Bisgetti, yes. And he turns it, he does an illusion and hypnotizes them into thinking that it's worms, that they're eating worms.
Yeah, he does the Lost Boys thing.
Right. He goes, "Yes, we stole that from the Lost Boys." And they turn his snake into his penis into a snake, and he tries to run away.
He's ready to leave.
Yeah, he's trying to get out, and then Peter gets him, and they're like, "Oh, Peter got him. Oh, poor guy." Like, oh boy, who let Peter out?
Because if you've seen these teeth,
yeah, I love the.
Yeah, because I mean,
I love the. Who let Peter out?
This is one of those movies I'm gonna have to go back through this because there are a lot of jokes tucked in the corners.
Oh yeah, this is like watching Mystery Science Theater 3000. You have to go back.
Holy Grail.
Yeah, you're gonna miss like 70% of the jokes on the first pass.
Well, it's because of the structure, because it's a reality show structure, and they're generally talking over each other.
Mm-hmm.
This must have been a nightmare to put together because you're trying to get the jokes, but everybody's talking over each other, and you're you know it had to be chaotic. Of course, comedy timing is everything.
Mm-hmm.
But the beauty of this film, at the base of all of it is completely based on all of the lore that we have about vampires.
Right.
And they don't miss anything.
Nothing.
The
crosses, the garlic, the steaks, the
being invited in,
the
victims,
all of that.
It's all there, and all the structures are there. The modern vampire, the Dracula legend, the Nosferatu, all of that stuff. It's all here.
The great thing is you get to see it from a practical day-to-day standpoint. Right. Instead of Dracula floating up to the mirror, to the window, and beckoning the girl to come to the window to let him in.
See me.
Vlad tries to do that, it just doesn't work. She can't see me from this angle. She's looking at the TV.
And the guy that's on his laptop is like, "See me."
Yeah.
The guy's just sitting there, and he doesn't do anything. He has to tap on the window.
See. Do you want to come in?
I love the idea that Deacon can hypnotize people, but he sucks at it.
No, that's Vizago.
Vizago. He can hypnotize people, but he sucks at it.
Right. So like the cops come and he's like, I've hypnotized the police officers, but I'm not very good at hypnotizing, so this could wear off at any second.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about Taika Waititi. How many? Because Taika Waititi just does everything.
He is amazing.
You know which episodes of The Mandalorian are his.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I mean, when they say this was directed by Taika Waititi, you're like, yeah, I can see that.
Yeah. Yeah.
That thing with the Tuscans and the pearl and all of that stuff, that was his.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
You know, you can see which ones are his. He's directed a couple of films, and I've gone back and I've watched a few of them. I've not seen The Wilder People.
Oh, Hunt for the Wilder People is amazing.
I did see Boy. I haven't seen Hunt for the Wilder People.
I haven't seen Boy. What's Boy? I don't know that one.
Boy's a good movie.
I liked Jojo Rabbit more than you did. I do like Thor Ragnarok quite a bit.
I like that one too. You can tell that's his.
Yeah. Very much
you can definitely tell that's his.
Up one side and down the other. Yeah, it's something. What is?
Yeah, let me pull up his.
I don't see Boy. What is Boy? Is that something he acted in?
It may have been. He may not have directed it. Let's see. Hold on. We're researching. Sorry.
Yeah, all that stuff that we probably should have done before.
Before we started. But he has a very specific sense of humor.
Oh yeah, he was an actor in that in 2010. That was before he started directing.
Okay, he didn't direct it. Okay.
Yeah, but regardless.
What We Do in the Shadows, Thor Ragnarok, Hunt for the Wilder People. Was this his first?
This was his first film.
Okay. Yeah, he's because I looked it up and I was like, did this get an Oscar nomination possibly for a script?
No, it
did
didn't.
not.
For no reason whatsoever that I can imagine. It's actually based on a short they did in 2005 that I
believe it.
That I have not seen. It's a half-hour short with Johnny Brugh, who plays Deacon, Vizago, Jemaine Clement, as a different. He's Volvis in that, but Viago, Nick, Stu, all of them are in there. Stu. I want to talk about Stu.
Stu is he's Nick's friend.
Stu is Nick's best friend, and he just goes up to him. He's like, "Yeah, you just don't eat him."
But we need to talk about Nick first because Nick comes along. He's bitten by Peter.
Nick is pretty much the start of Act 2.
And he's just an ordinary guy. Like I say, he looks like a soccer hooligan. And he doesn't have the experience that the other ones have.
Right.
He hasn't met vampire hunters.
Right.
So he's not as cautious.
Right, so he's just telling everybody he's a vampire, and he meets a vampire hunter, and one of them actually...
The vampire hunter breaks in.
Breaks in and kills Peter.
Yeah.
Well, no, I think Peter kills him, but then the sunlight comes in and burns Peter.
And kills Peter.
And he's like, I thought he was kidding. I didn't know that there were really vampires. Like, he doesn't know. He doesn't know any of this. And he brings Stu along. They all agree that they're not going to eat him. They love Stu.
Is it Nick or Deacon that goes up to the shopkeeper and they're talking?
Nick is talking to the shopkeeper. Deacon is behind him, and Stu's back in the background. And he's like, "Oh yeah, I could transform too." Ooh. And he goes, and then he turns his face into like some horrific vampire face. He goes, "Don't joke about being able to turn into things if you can."
Because they hang on that moment.
They do.
That poor shopkeep. They hang on that moment.
And you watch Stu put something back on the shelf, like, we're clearly not buying anything. And how he's like, I'll have to tell Stu that I'm a vampire. Because what happens is he doesn't know that any of them are vampires. They go out and they introduce him. They're going out to these clubs, and he's like, oh, you can't hear me. Well, he doesn't know that I'm a vampire yet, and I don't know how I'm going to tell him. And he's, okay, you can hear me. And that's when they first run into the werewolves, and he goes, I have to explain this to him now. He took it well, and he continued to come over. He got them on the internet and got them kind of all up to date, because he's a software analyst.
Yeah.
And
he explains this.
He does numerous times.
They take him, for whatever reason, to this the Unholy Masquerade.
Nick brings him to the Unholy Masquerade because there was a +1 on the invitation, and he for some reason thought that it would be okay.
And they were not specific about.
Right, he thought it would be okay to bring a human to a vampire zombie mixer. Two creatures that are well known for dining upon the flesh of a human. And they didn't all make the pact that they weren't going to eat Stu.
Right.
Or the camera people. I love setting up the Unholy Masquerade. When they're announcing the special guest, because Vlad is like, I've heard that it might be me. There's always a special guest. And you find out that it is the Beast, who is an ex.
They keep referencing the Beast.
They do. And they show a horrifying picture.
Nemesis.
Right. And you find out that it's not an arch nemesis. It's an ex-girlfriend.
Pauline. Well, they keep showing it every time they go back into his history. It's always those weird sort of 16th century kind of sketches and drawings and things like that. And they show you this weird beast. It has this head and it's got arrows in its chest, and it's just...
It's got like a bat face. It's got male genitalia mounted on its chest. Right. There's...
right.
Like, it looks horrifying. It really does.
You don't know until for a while that who this beast is. You're thinking it's just this vampire that's one-upped him or whatever.
Right.
And you meet it's basically just his ex-girlfriend.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. That's all it is. That's all it is. And he was a little bit more hurt than she was in the breakup.
Because I love it when he makes his appearance in this white outfit to sort of speak up for Stu, but he's in a mask, and he goes to take the mask off, and he can't get the mask
He's trying to untie it all dramatically, and he's like, stop! There will be no eating of this human. You forget your former lover so quickly. And she's like, she says some other name. He goes, no! And he just fumbles with it because it's tied in the back. It doesn't just lift off. He's got to untie it from the back, and it's this eyes wide shut mask.
Well, the whole thing is, can they get him out of here without being eaten? Because the zombies start getting hungry. The vampires realize who he is.
Do you mind if I ask you a question?
Are you pre-deceased?
That is. It looked like a gay person who was going to want to hit on somebody, but wanted to make sure they were gay first.
Speaking of which, I love the scene where Nick breaks the news to Stu that he's a vampire
Mm-hmm.
because it's set up like a guy
Like
telling
it's a
his
coming
buddy
out.
that he's gay.
Yeah.
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 And I'm still the same person. It's just
Yeah. That's all beautiful. And long story
I'm
short,
telling you,
the
there must have been 1,000 jokes.
Oh, I know.
There must have been 1,000 jokes, 1,000 ideas, and they just pulled out the cream of the crop.
There are deleted scenes on the Blu-ray. I don't remember them offhand. I know I watched them, but I didn't watch them recently.
The DVD doesn't have anything. I was so disappointed.
The Blu-ray has commentary by Jemaine, Clement, and Taika Waititi that I really want to watch. Behind the Shadows, deleted scenes, video extras, interviews, promo videos, and a poster gallery. So next to nothing, but there's still some things.
Yeah. Newer films usually don't.
Right.
But
I'm actually surprised this isn't on Paramount Plus. It's a Paramount movie.
Yeah. Give it time. They've got to get it. Well, what deal does the show have?
It could be.
Yeah,
it could be a rights thing because I'm looking at What We Do in the Shadows of the movie.
FX is owned by
Fox.
FX is owned by Disney.
Yes, Fox, Disney. Yeah. It's on FX now. Apparently.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I couldn't find it streaming anywhere else.
Yeah. But just then by the end of it, they get out of that scenario by Stu impaling Pauline's boyfriend and killing him. And they get out of there. They run into the werewolves again. That's when they're changing. They're chaining themselves up. And
it's a full moon.
Yeah, and they just don't get away in time.
Right.
They lose a camera person, and they lose Stu.
Yeah. Well,
until you find out that they didn't actually lose Stu. Stu got turned into a werewolf.
Yeah.
And then Nick brings Stu, says he's a werewolf, and then he brings in the werewolf pack, and they start to be friends. That was the best part. Now they're going to be hanging out with them. And he's like, of course, there's the werewolf, the dog smell, but you can't really get away from that. Who knew that they were such good guys?
There's just so much here.
There's a plethora of things in this movie that you could break down a single scene.
And it could be a short film.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I do love about... Yes, it's episodic. But it is...
necessarily, given the structure.
Exactly. And those episodes don't feel tired. They don't start repeating themselves throughout.
The movie does not wear out its welcome.
It does not. It's only, an hour and 26
minutes long.
Yeah. It's not long.
It's
126
an hour and
minutes.
26.
Hour and 26 minutes. So yeah, it's not a long movie, and
but there's so much in here.
Yeah, it is packed to the gills.
And they know what to do with what they have.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I'm going to say, I don't think an American could do this.
No.
Because given the structure of modern American comedies, it would just kind of fly off the rails. And this kind of thing has to be this kind of structure has to be under control because
right, it would have.
You're dealing with a reality show, and it needs some kind of structure. And they have it.
There's two Americans that I could see being able to work with it within the structure, but would not be good at writing it, and that would be either Rob Reiner or Christopher Guest.
But it wouldn't flow like this.
No.
Because this flows with like controlled chaos.
Oh yeah. Yeah. This is there's no jarring wait, why is this scene following this scene?
Right.
Or anything like that.
It does build.
It does. It does. And you know, it's just a damn entertaining movie. It's very gory. It's very there's a lot of blood. There's a lot of swearings. It's not like a fun vampire movie for the whole family. Unless you have older kids.
And it tweaks the nose. It tweaks the nose of vampire movies because, like I said at the beginning, I need a vampire movie like I need a hole in the head.
Right.
Because they're so overblown.
Mm-hmm.
All of them.
Yeah.
They're just so overblown,
Yeah.
and they all do the same thing,
Mm-hmm.
and they all.
Yeah, there's not really a place. Vampire movies have been overdone.
Yeah.
It just like zombies now, or even slasher flicks really don't have anywhere to go. They just offer a higher and higher body count with
Or possession flicks.
with creative kills. Yeah, there's nothing new. But then you get something like this that approaches it in a common sense kind of an angle. Like, this would be ridiculous if this were really happening.
This is as good as something like Young Frankenstein
Yes.
in that it takes a very creaky old movie standard, and just kind of gives it a comic spin.
Right, and
And the comic spin is so well mounted and so well written. It's brilliant.
Mhm.
I love this film.
yeah, it's phenomenal. I'm very happy that you liked it. And I'm very happy that I got to introduce you to it. Find the show, everybody. Find the show.
Yeah.
It's streaming on Hulu
Including me.
and Wellington Paranormal. That's a cute. There's only 6 episodes a season for that. There's 3 seasons. So, Wellington Paranormal.
See,
won't
my
take
problem
long.
is. See, here's my problem. I can't stream more than one show at a time. And right now I'm stuck in the middle of The Crown.
Ah.
So it's hard to get out of one show and move into another because I won't go back to the show I was watching. I have a half-track mind. I can only do one thing at a time. So
You're Beetle Bailey's general.
Yeah.
Thank you for
So
that.
what-
That was a deep cut. I'm sorry, guys.
Once I get to once I get through with The Crown, then I'm going to go and look for this.
Yeah,
Because
it's just delightful, and seeing this, I might encourage you to watch Jojo Rabbit again. To think of it in this perspective.
Jojo Rabbit opens like this,
Mm-hmm.
with this kind of comic energy. It opens in 5th gear,
Yeah, that's
and
true.
then gets dead serious and downshifts to 2nd gear. And the tone shift it'll break your neck because the tone shift is so weird in that movie, and it always bothered me.
I really appreciated Jojo Rabbit. Sea Hunt for the Wilder People, though. I know you have a screener
Yeah.
for that because I do.
Yeah.
It's absolutely worth it. It's such a good movie.
I've got a bucket of screeners for the last 10 years, and I'm working my way through them eventually, as I can.
Mhm.
You know, no big hurry, but I'm trying to, because we got another season coming up,
Yeah,
and we're gonna start getting more screeners for
pretty soon here. Yeah.
2021. 2020, I watched more movies than
I watched. Wait a minute. Until this year, until 2021, for the last maybe 3 or 4 years, I have written down every movie that I've watched every day.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I counted them up. I wanted to beat 2019's. 2019's. I don't know. It was like 300 and 72 or something. It was just a little over a movie a day.
Yeah.
And in 2020, I watched 746 movies. Not all new ones.
Yeah.
I counted everything I watched, including riff tracks and MST3K, because those are full movies.
Yeah, I'm the same way with my reviews.
Yeah.
Because I'm going back and reviewing stuff that I missed.
Uh,
And I've written over 300. I've written over 350 reviews since February 1st.
I've written
And
over
just going back
350 words since February 1st.
Well, I have this thing about I feel like writing is like cooking. You have to keep doing it, otherwise you lose your touch. You know, I have to do. You know, I have to keep.
Yeah, and I agree with that, because I feel like I've lost a little bit of my reviewing capability. My brevity is lacking now. And then I shifted to book essays and trying to get like 3, 4, 5,000 words, and trying to cut it down into one is really hard. So, I am working.
I
on
have
getting
this
back
thing
into that, but
when I watch something and then I review. Everybody has their own process. My process is this. By the time the movie is over, the first paragraph is written in my head. And on a good day, I've written the first paragraph and the last on a good day. I seem to have lost that touch because I can't get it together. I reviewed the new James Bond movie.
oh, how was
And
it?
I could not. It's good. You can tell just exactly how much Daniel Craig wanted out of this. Because the way they close this movie, he is not coming back. I want Idris Elba to play James Bond.
He's not going to, though.
That's a heartbreaker.
He's not going to.
But
But yeah, that's what we do in the shadows. It's a wonderful, wonderful, hilarious movie, and I encourage everybody who hasn't seen it to watch it.
if you want to have a weird time, watch all of the movies we're doing this month. I mean,
Yeah, that is
this is the most batshit collection of movies that we've come up with for Shocktober ever.
True.
I think the most quaint is probably Cure and Echo.
Yeah. And that's like the only real serious one we did. And everything else has a little bit of an odd tone to it.
Well, the two films that I picked were mostly films that people have never heard of.
Yeah.
And you have a sort of, you walk away with kind of a weird feeling about them. It's like, did I like that or not? And then you make up your mind whether you liked it or not. It's not like, it was, neither one of them were critically acclaimed, including the movie we're going to talk about next week.
I'm still on the fence about this one. Go ahead.
This is a weird psychological thriller from 1978, which, boy, this movie is sweating 1978. It stars Anthony Hopkins, Anne Margaret, Ed Lauder, Burgess Meredith. It's called Magic. He plays a meek stage magician who can't really function unless he has his dummy to talk through him.
Right.
His ventriloquist dummy.
Eventually,
to talk
the
through him.
persona he creates for the dummy becomes like the dominant personality. He ends up with a almost split personality disorder. And it's interesting.
It's a strange film.
I'll go with that. It's very interesting. But you'll hear more about that next time.
Yes.
And then we go into Turkey Month.
And you are kicking off Turkey Month with a doozy. Tell us about this one.
The Apple from 1980. It is a very, very peculiar dystopian musical. I want you to process that for just a minute. Just think about that. Totalitarian regime musical.
And if this isn't a commentary on the music business, I don't know what is.
It's basically a much worse version and kind of campier version of Beyond the Valley of the Dolls, if you can imagine something campier than that.
Made at the time when they were laying eggs, like, it's very much in the canon. This movie would be very much on a triple bill with Xanadu and Can't Stop the Music.
Yes, this one
it fits right between.
This one with along with Xanadu and Can't Stop the Music and I think going into Annie. These are what killed the movie musical until the early 2000s.
Well, until the Disney Renaissance.
Disney's
really.
were still going on. I mean, live action musical. You didn't really see a live action musical that wasn't based around performance. Like if they were, rock music, then they would go out and they would play a song and But for the most part, full on live action musicals took a nap for about 20 years after this. And it's atrocious. And I will say this, if you watch it, the BIM is always on the way, but you never actually know if it gets there.
It's a hard. Oh God, it's a head scratcher.
Oh yeah,
that whole movie.
Yeah. It's called The Apple.
And following that,
yes.
Following that, is my first choice for Turkey Month, a movie that I was beloved by people as when I was a child.
Which I don't understand.
But I still can't understand. It is a movie very much of its time. It's called Every Which Way But Loose. A rare comedy starring Clint Eastwood.
It's not good.
It sucks.
I have watched it and the sequel, and the sequel is actually marginally better.
I do not remember the sequel. I don't remember the sequel at all.
It's marginally better. It's not good.
Let me put it this way. I had to remind myself which one came first because the titles are so...
Well, there's no way to tell. Every Which Way But Loose or Any Which Way You Can. It's like...
Yeah. I had to look up which one came first.
Yeah. I always wondered myself. But never wanted to actually watch the movies. Thanks very much.
You had to see this. Because it was like, you're watching it, it's kind of about some stuff, but it's not really about stuff. It's not really about anything, but it's about a lot of stuff. And it is
one
a
of the
total
single
nightmare.
most aimless movies I have ever witnessed in my entire life.
The closing credits.
This thing meanders more than a lazy river. Like, this is just... There's nothing to it.
It ends that way.
Yeah.
It ends without ending.
It never...
The movie is not over when it's over.
I question whether it really actually starts. But those are what we have coming up. I think, solidified my second choice, but we'll keep that.
Yeah. The next 2 weeks are the 2 weeks after that are TVA.
But that's what we have coming up. You can find all of our back episodes if you want to listen to previous Shocktobers or previous Turkey months to see exactly what you have to look forward to. You can find all of those at the podbaydorspodcast.wordpress.com. You can follow us on Twitter at pod_bay, copy and paste that into Patreon, and listen to us. Please listen to us on iTunes and YouTube. You hit the like, subscribe, notifications, all of that jazz. We greatly appreciate you listening, and the pod bay doors are now closed.
The mission has been completed.
Don't sing if you want to live long. They have no use for your song. You're dead, you're dead, you're dead, you're dead and out of this world. You'll never get a second chance. Plan all your moves in advance. Stay dead, stay dead, stay dead, stay dead and out of this world. Run fast, don't stand in the sun. There's too much work to be done. You're down, you're down, you're down, you're down and out of this world. Don't ever talk with your eyes. Be sure that you compromise. You're dead, you're dead, you're dead, you're dead and out of this world. Hear the unloved weeping like rain. Guard your sleep from the sound of their pain. Long gone, long gone, long gone, long gone and out of this world. When you smile and it tears your face, it's time for the inhuman race. You're down, you're down, you're down, you're down and out of this world. Now your hope and compassion is gone. You've sold out your dream to the world. Stay dead, stay dead, stay dead. You're dead and out of this world.